Alright, so this is the belt I got. And I was able to use all the hardware that came with the kit. I had to source my own spacers. And I used this piece that came with the kit. And this, because this was a little bit too long, but I suppose that's why that came with it. Okay. So there's the belt. And okay, so you see this right here, that is supposed to have a bolt that goes through here and to there, but this is a nightmare here. Getting that bolt out is pretty much impossible. I'd have to get up in there with I'd have to take this bolt out, get up there with a die grinder and die grind this all the way down for this to slide straight out. So this bolt just isn't gonna work for this kit. But it doesn't have much flex in this. I don't see it having much more than 400 horsepower, so I'm gonna try it. And if it starts throwing belts, then I might spend more, but this was a $35 kit. So I'm just gonna try it. I'll show you the above when I get up there, the view. Okay, this is the above view. So it's got this bolt and this bolt. And I'll admit there's a little flex there. These two bolts are flexing a little bit. But it's a turbo car, so it comes on slow with the power, I suppose. I don't know, we'll see. Worst case scenario, we'll go back down and I'll show you what I might do. So, if it starts throwing belts, I might make a piece of metal that would weld to this and then come over here to this bolt on the water pump and just like a tab. That would be pretty easy. I could cut and drill a tab and put it there and then mark it and then disassemble it and weld it, and that flex would go away. Probably can't see the flex much on the camera. It moves slightly. And I got the tank drop down. This one, with that clip, is gonna go on this one, which I don't know. I'll have to figure out which one's the return line, I guess. And I gotta get a tool to get that off. Alright, it's the blue one. Just push it on there and push it in this way like that, and then pop the plug off. That's this kit. I think I got it at Napa. Makes it real easy. Okay, those are disconnected. Now I got another tank that's got the big fuel pump in it. Okay, I forgot again. This. Yeah, just pry it out with a screwdriver. Oh, it's free. Okay, that's from when I had the big engine in it before. That's the tank that's the fuel pump in the tank that I used when I had the 410 Windsor in this car. And this one came out of the 4-cylinder car. Or no, it came out of the 5.0 hatchback, 1988. That's what that came out of, all stock. So I'm gonna take that, put it in here, slide it under there, and that'll get me started on figuring out these fittings and how I'm gonna get it to work on the car, because I don't have the AN lines on this car anymore. I have them on that car. Okay, got it slid up under there, and I'm gonna raise it up where I don't have to be on my knees. All right, this, I gotta peel this piece of rubber off of here and then put it in there and then push that in to this hole. That's the vent. All right, I got that pushed in there. And there we go. All right, now I got at least one fitting that's the right size for this, and then I gotta find the other fitting. And then I can see if I can get these lines hooked up. So I'm tracing my fuel line because I want to make sure I get the one that's got the pressure gauge on it, and that's its top one, right? So I'm running my fingers up here and I'm like, okay, it's this one, and guess what falls out and lands right there? My 10 millimeter. Yeah. The car was on the floor when it fell. It must have bounced off the floor and then jumped up and landed right in there and fell out. I better be careful. This thing will jump into outer space or whatever, another dimension again. Okay, so I'm following that. Okay, well that makes sense. It's the one that goes to the fuel filter. So the fuel filter is the pressure line. That makes this one here the return line. I'll set my 810 millimeter there. And grab this return line. I might not be able to do this with one hand. All right. Well, son of a gun, it's a different size. Should I ruin that fuel pump, guys? Cut that off? Probably not. Probably shouldn't. I should probably go buy the right fitting. All right, we'll put this little sucker back. All is well in the world. You know what that means? Oh, that means that's the wrong fitting. That means this isn't gonna work. I gotta buy a whole different fitting for the 6AN because it's a smaller line. And I really don't want to change those because that's a pain in the whole royal butt. So I guess off to Amazon again. Alright, we got some parts. So O2 sensor. That plug's not the right plug, so we still haven't got that adapter. So that's going to be off to the side for now. Got a bung for that O2 sensor and a bung for an O2 sensor I got for a gauge. This is a temperature sensor for the holley. This is an intake air sensor for the holley. This is a 100 psi pressure transducer for the coil, and this is the same transducer for the fuel. That's it. Comes with the plug, but I'm pretty sure the holley harness has the right plug. This air intake sensor.
coolant sensor. All right, time to get started. Well, I have these instructions too. Gonna read through those, and that'll probably help. First thing it talks about is the fuel pressure sensor and how you can purchase an adapter for the Schrader valve on the fuel line. And the next thing it talks about is the oil pressure sensor. An adapter that will retain the stock sending unit for factory gauges. I don't think I have that adapter. Alright, got the fuel pressure one installed. It was kind of long, so I tucked it in back here. And the throttle cable is a little bit in the way, so I had to unbolt that. I think that's gonna bolt back up without putting pressure on it. That cable right there might push on it, we'll see. Alright, since this was pointed this direction, I took a drill bit and wallered out that hole a little bit, and that hole a little bit, and then twisted this down just a fraction. And there's the angle. It's clearing. So I don't have to worry about side pressure messing with it. That's done. I have a T for this, but that's 1/8 inch. This is 1/4 inch. So I got to get a bushing and closed nipple to make this oil pressure gauge work. And then I'm probably going to have to, well, I might just get the bushing and just put that straight in where this goes, but you only need the T if you want to retain this. But at the moment, I don't even know where the wire is. I'd have to find the proper wire to send the oil pressure to the dash anyway. And so I might just put that in and be done. We'll see. I guess when I'm at the store, I might as well get this stuff. But coolant temperature. It says to put it on the pipe for the heater core. So that's where I'm going to put that. That's the stock sensor. It's a 1-inch socket. Nothing else would get on it with all the stuff in the way. And man, that was scary because the sucker turned out hard. I was afraid I was going to break the pipe. Well, I gotta say, I'm surprised that was still working. Didn't get no code, so. All right, this one goes right there in that hole. All right, that's it. That little thing pushes down to lock it. That's MAT. All right, I went to the store and got 1/4 to 1/8 reducer bushing, a 1/4 inch T, and a 1/4 inch close nipple. And I should be able to get everything on the car with that. All right, there it is. All from the hardware store. And so I'm still waiting on the adapter for this. This is for the O2 sensor. And I still got to build
the adapter plug for this map sensor,
but everything else is plugged in. Well, not everything is plugged in still. I got the map sensor and the TPS sensor. So these wires are the same colors. I'm gonna go ahead and guess that that's where they go, is the same colors. And gonna have to steal the plug off of this, and I'm gonna take the plug off of this, and that way it's less wiring to do. And I think I'm gonna take the plug off of this map sensor and put the one that actually plugs into that sensor on the end. Okay, so tech tip to get these pins out. There's a little, see those little wings? You have to press those. Well, I don't have one of those fancy tools that has all the keys for pushing pins out. So I had an old thermocouple for meat thermometer, and it was just about the right size, but since it wasn't exactly the right size, I needed to force it in there. Well, the best way to force it in there was to turn it with the drill and push it in. I had to watch to make sure the wires wasn't twisting on this side, and then if they did twist, I'd have to reverse the drill and go the other way, kind of slow, you know, and then just shoved it right out. So that way I don't have to worry about making those connections again. This is the plug that it came with. It's marked C, B, and A. The pins in this book for the manifold air pressure sensor was these pins A18, 23, and 26, so I had to go back to this connector, find those wires, match the colors, because I want to make sure I get the colors right for the pins. And so now I just got to put those colors on these pins and snap them in. They should snap right in. There it is, all finished up. All right, I got it. It's plugged in, and I'll admit it, I messed up one of the pins trying to plug it in, and I had to pull the wire back out and then splice in one of these pins, because the end of it there crushed and broke and split, and it would no longer plug in. So use two hands when you go to plug this in, or you're gonna mess it up. Be careful. Let's see. Yeah, that's from trying to force stuff. Okay, it's a good thing that I didn't use this to adapt the map sensor, because now I'm going to use these pins here and this plug here to make this stock plug for the throttle position sensor adapt to the harness. All right, and with that plug made for the TPS, that is all that I've got left to do in the engine bay today. This is what's left, is the oxygen sensor. I got an adapter coming for that. Alright, so this is an adapter harness I have. That white wire that's coming off of that goes to the negative on the tach, and then a wire that goes to the existing tach goes on the negative, and a red and white wire goes to the positive on the coil. Okay. So this is the coil plug, and that's the red wire at my pinky there. That's the ground wire. So this is going to that harness right here. And that's the adapter harness. And then this wire, because I don't have any dash wires or nothing. Well, the dash wires are coming out of this corner here, but I don't have the connectors. But I know this wire, I got it's going to the red and green wire at the ignition switch. So I'm pretty sure this is a switched power source, 12 volts at the ignition switch. So I'm putting that there, and then I'll just plug it into the ignition coil. Now I looked it up, and this wire here, green and yellow wire, I believe, and if anybody knows, let me know, I believe that's the tack wire. So once I get everything going, because I don't need that to start the car, but once I ever get it started, then I'll come back and I'll try to touch that wire and see if the tachometer starts to work. So that's the coil. Should be wired now. I need to still plug it in, but